Welcome back to Explaining Everything, the channel where we dive into the stories and mysteries behind everyday things. Today's question comes from one of our curious viewers, Erin_Gothgirl06. Thanks for the suggestion, Erin. You asked, why are grapes used to make wine? And honestly, the same. Out of all the fruits on earth, how did grapes get chosen to be squished into the drink of philosophers, awkward wedding speeches, and I'm fine texts? Today, we're diving into the sweet, squishy history of wine, the science behind fermentation, and why grapes, yes, grapes, rose to become the Beyoncé of the fruit fermentation world. Grab your favorite glass and let's get into it, right here on Explaining Everything. So, why grapes? Why not apples, bananas, or durian? If you're in danger, here's the deal. Grapes are nature's little fermentation bombs. They've got the perfect combo of sugar, water, acid, and skin, which, coincidentally, also describes me after a weekend at the beach. Let's break that down. Sugar. Grapes have just the right sugar content for fermentation. Yeast, the microscopic MVP of winemaking, eats that sugar and burps out alcohol. Grapes make it easy. Bananas? Too mushy. Lemons? Too sour. Apples? Good effort, but they just ended up inventing cider. Acidity. Grapes have a natural acidity that balances the sweetness and keeps the wine from tasting like melted jelly beans. It also helps preserve the wine, so it doesn't turn into fruit soup 3 weeks after bottling. Tannins, especially in red grapes, the skin and seeds contain tannins. These are the things that make your mouth go, whoa, when drinking dry red wine. Tannins add structure, which is just a fancy way of saying, this wine doesn't taste like alcoholic Kool-Aid. Water. Grapes are juicy, but not too juicy. You don't want wine to be watered down like your cousin's cooking. Humans have been turning grapes into wine for a long time. Like, we still thought the earth was flat and bathing was suspicious. Long. The earliest evidence of winemaking dates back over 8,000 years ago in what is now Georgia, the country, not the US state, famous for peaches, and overly polite, bless your hearts. Ancient people discovered that if you left grapes sitting around, they'd start to ferment naturally. And being curious, and probably very bored, someone eventually tasted it, realized it was kind of awesome, and boom, winemaking was born. That person probably became very popular in the village. Wine became a cultural staple in civilizations like ancient Egypt, Greece, and Rome. The Greeks literally worshipped a wine god, Dionysus, the original party planner. The Romans? They called him Bacchus and built entire roads just to get wine from point A to party B. Why grapes? Because grapes grew well in these Mediterranean climates. They were easy to cultivate, and again, they turned into wine on their own. Low effort, high reward. It's the ancient version of a microwave dinner. Now let's nerd out for a moment. Fermentation is the real magic behind wine, and grapes make it ridiculously easy. Yeast, which exists naturally on grape skins, starts chomping down on sugar the moment the grapes are crushed. It's like an invisible buffet. The yeast consumes sugar and produces two things, alcohol and carbon dioxide. It's nature's way of saying, let's party. White wines usually skip the skin contact, giving them a lighter, crisper taste. Red wines? They embrace the skins, seeds, and sometimes even stems, kind of like that one cousin who goes all in on karaoke night. Plus, grapes contain a beautiful balance of glucose and fructose, two sugars that yeast can easily digest. Other fruits might ferment too fast or too slow, creating weird off flavors. Grapes just get it. Over time, grapes became a global sensation. Think of them as the original world tour. As trade routes expanded, so did vineyards. Spain, France, and Italy, these places became wine capitals. People even started getting snobby about it. Oh, this has subtle notes of oak, plum, and existential dread. Fun fact, the French word for winemaker is vigneron, which sounds elegant, but just means person who gets excited about squishing grapes. Even in places where grapes didn't grow naturally, people figured out how to make it work. California's wine industry? Planted by missionaries in the 1700s. Chile and Argentina? Crushing it. Australia? Proof that even kangaroo country can make a mean Shiraz. And guess what? Even today, 90% of all wine is still made from grapes. We've had thousands of years to try other fruits, and grapes are still the reigning champs. So yes, there's science involved. Yeast metabolism, sugar ratios, acid levels, climate zones. It's like biology, chemistry, and geography had a baby, and that baby grew up to be delicious. But there's also art involved. Different grape varieties, like Cabernet Sauvignon, Chardonnay, or that one with a name no one can pronounce, looking at you, Gewürztraminer, produce wildly different wines. Soil, sunlight, and even altitude all affect the taste. That's the magic of terroir, a French word that loosely translates to the land's vibe. And winemakers? They're like fruit whisperers. They know when to pick, how long to ferment, and how long to age the wine so it doesn't taste like a disappointment. So, why are grapes used to make wine? Because they're sweet, acidic, juicy, and naturally covered in the yeast needed to get the party started. Combine that with thousands of years of trial and error and grape-stomping festivals, and you've got a recipe for the world's most beloved fermented drink. Next time you sip a glass of wine, just remember, you're tasting fruit with serious history, mad chemistry, and way too much confidence for something that grows on a vine. If you like this video, hit that like button and subscribe. Also, if you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. Thank you for tuning in, and join us next time here in the channel that answers all the why, what, who, where, and how questions you've always wondered about, here on Explaining Everything.